Heyo! Welcome to Benchwarmers, a WOSO podcast, episode 4. We have a special guest who's going to come in and out because you probably heard him barking on the last few episodes. We have a lot to talk about, but first we're going to get into something really important that happened over the weekend, and I think it's important to address it before anything.
It really is coming from the heart.
Yeah.
I as much as I've been watching women's football for the last decade, Matt Beard has been involved. I mean, every loss in the women's game is so felt by those who participate or watch the game. In the same week, we celebrate the life of Maddie Cusack, who was taken way too fast, just only 2 years ago. The news that Matt Beard had passed away added further sadness to an already mournful weekend. Ever since I started watching women's football, Matt Beard has been a constant presence, a figure who's almost synonymous with the sport. From the dingy suburban stadiums to the FA Cup finals at Wembley, his name carries weight, not just for his longevity, but for the impact he's had across multiple clubs and eras, staff, players and fans. To say he's deeply woven into the story of women's football is to recognise his role as much more than just a gaffer. Over the last few days, we have heard from those who knew Beardy the best, from ex-players, fellow coaches to pundits and fans alike. What is shared by all those who knew and admired him is a sense of deep respect and love for a guy who's been the heart and soul part of women's football. What made him stand out wasn't just the trophies, the titles, or the CV, but the personal sacrifices he made for a sport he knew was unforgiving and ruthless, but also so incredibly important. In 2013, he sold his house and he left his job as an estate agent and part-time coach at Chelsea to take the Liverpool role full-time. The decision alone shows how much he believed in women's football. Liverpool were a mess of a club, but in the very Matt Beard way, he believed and invested, guiding Liverpool to back-to-back WSL titles and writing a golden chapter in the club's history. When he came back in 2021, Liverpool were in the second tier and once again a team that paled in comparison to the one he left half a decade earlier. Within a year, he had them back in the WSL, but it was more than just promotion. He rebuilt belief, gave the team its identity back, and set the foundations for everything that came next. Matt Beard isn't just a coach who's been around. He's someone who has shaped the game and left it stronger, wherever he went. He sacrificed so much and in turn played a huge part in bringing women's football in England to where it is now. A trailblazer, a hero, and of course, just a guy doing the thing he loved, not realizing that his passion would go on to becoming a building block to the foundations of women's football he and so many others before him and after him will continue to build.
Amazingly said. Looking at stories by players and coaches and spectators across WOSO have been brilliant, reading about them the way everyone talks about him. I had a few reads in The Guardian and even West Ham's excerpt, and everywhere he went, they literally loved him and he did amazing things for all of them. I love that he loved both sides of the game. He talks about Paul Gascoigne in Italia 90, and it's I grew up hearing about the beauty of that, but then he parallels that with Christine Sinclair and Kelly Smith, and it's loving both with the level of equity that's required is everything that WOSO is about. And I just love that they called him the Del Boy of WOSO, 80s British comedy, nothing better. He clearly had the charisma and charm. He was punchy, he was wordy. Everything was almost it's a sport. It's my job, but it's a sport, and that's what comes first. It's
entertainment, and I think it was just so he touched so many players' lives that we don't even think about. He'll be missed.
Definitely, 100%. And this weekend of football, especially in England, was a testament to that. Everyone paying respects to them before the games, and obviously immediate feeling in stadiums. Obviously they postponed the Liverpool Villa game. We'll talk about that in time to come, and it'll be interesting to see how Liverpool and West Ham and these clubs respond to this kind of thing, because this is the kind of thing that can, sadly not through intentionality, but can unite clubs behind
truly motivate
certain missions for the year and what it means to represent the spirit of Matt Beard. We're going to talk about the UCL qualification games.
Yep.
Obviously, the draw is out, so we will get to the draw eventually. But United are in.
Unfortunately.
Real Madrid are in. Atletico are in. And Twente are in. Let's talk about United. Yeah, you said that it couldn't happen.
I thought it was going to be more difficult.
I was so guaranteed that it would happen, but not like that, really.
No, I think that they showed their class, and unfortunately, just the levels that are required to be in the Champions League. And I think, unfortunately, United have that right now.
Yeah, and through many different avenues, including Elizabeth Turland, a hat-trick. Look, the goals, you can criticise the way in which the balls go in. But
I'm definitely criticising Brann's defence.
That's okay, but a hat-trick is a hat-trick, right? There's no such thing as a bad hat-trick, and she's always in the right place, always in the right position. And she only had 4 or 5 shots for the game. She's doing something right, and to put her team on her back like that, with a team full of people like Rolfo, Park, Zigiotti, to be the talismanic goal figure is pretty immense. And I think that's an incredible win for them. Very similar to the way it's an incredible win for Real Madrid, who I predicted to not win.
Yeah, well, I think this was more of another game where Frankfurt just showed that they were really inconsistent. And they've had a really poor patch of form coming off of what was a really good opening week. And you kind of thought that they would play off the back of Geraldine, but she was completely nullified in that midfield. Fella and Caicedo and Brann up front was just like, it's funny because all of them can cop stick at any given time. Yep.
I think we will give all of them stick at equal times. But when they're clicking, they are seriously one of those teams
very dominant.
Yeah, they actually look dominant, and maybe that's opposition based. But Linda Caicedo, when she's on, you can genuinely make an argument for a player who's top 5 in her position. I just think the way she carries herself, but just the way she makes everyone else in the game so much better. She drives the ball up the field with she drives the ball up the field with the experience of like a 31-year-old, and she's 22.
I think it's interesting because I've always thought of her as being incredibly raw, but that raw talent kind of actually encouraging and enabling her to show levels above the rest of the field. I think a lot of the other Real Madrid players are somewhat tampered by whatever positions they're playing or their limitations technically or whatever. But I think that Caicedo is one of those players where I look at her and I think, I could tell you her strengths, but she hides her weaknesses so well.
Maybe that's
her strengths are just so good.
Yeah, it's definitely that. I think it's more for me the final touch, because obviously you can be raw and carry the ball up the field. It's just the speed at which she carries up the field and then the soft weight of pass. I think I only see that from players who are 5-6 years older than her, so that's really impressive. Atletico, look,
continuing their very good form this season.
Yes, but not the same way. Not the same way. They were dominant. They were holding on. They were holding on. Hacken did get a goal in that game, but Atletico putting on a performance again. They do just put results together, and it'll be interesting to see them against Real this year and where they end up in the Liga F, how they both go in the Champions League, whether they which Madrid will drive further up the competition. And then obviously Twente getting in, Jill Roord.
Very,
I think they
very
won,
bitter for you.
Yeah, look, 4-0. They won 4-0. Jill Roord had a brace. That means Jess Park and Jill Roord back in the UCL. Yeah. We'll see how they go. I know Jill Roord's UCL record is actually very, very good, but Jess Park's is less so. It will be interesting to see how she goes in the United setup. We're gonna move to the draw. Obviously, we watched the draw live. Very interesting coverage. Put it that way.
I always love these coverages. We'll go to the Ballon d'Or one later, but it's just like, how much can you draw out? When incredibly, what I thought would be a basic thing turned out to be one of the most complicated algebraic equations.
Algebra. That's what I say it is. But just the pots, the amount of teams. You basically know who's playing who before they've drawn someone, and
pot 3 doesn't matter. Everyone's off at that point.
Yeah, pot 3. You're literally getting one pot 3 versus pot 3 game. That's like the big reveal. Lika Martens is just as confused as we are.
Alex Scott keeps talking about Chelsea.
Oh my god!
And it's just like, okay.
And Kessler. I mean, Kessler was actually quite good.
Yeah.
Shout out Nadine Kessler. But is there any teams you want to point out specifically? Do you want to talk about your team?
Yeah, of course I want to talk
let's
about my
go.
team.
Arsenal.
I appreciate the fact that whoever the script writers were like, you know what, that last season was so good. We're going to try and replicate it again.
Lyon at home, which is an interesting
Yeah.
game because that's your remontada. To repeat that, you've got Bayern away, Real Madrid at home, Benfica away, and then Twente at home, and then I believe Leuven. That's who it is.
Yeah,
OH
the
Leuven.
first Belgium team.
Amazing,
to make it to the
really
Champions League.
cool. That will be an amazing moment for them to have welcome Arsenal to their stadium.
But I mean, Lyon at the Emirates, I mean, we saw it last time.
Yeah.
I don't want another Diani party, personally.
Yeah.
But at least Spilsberger won't be in goal, so I think it'll be okay.
Do you think? But you also, it's not Montemuro's.
No,
Lyon.
it is a different Lyon team and a different prospect.
100%.
I think Arsenal are very well prepared for a Champions League run this season.
It's also a different look Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in terms of what we want to achieve this season, I think I've heard a lot of people talking about how last season was a fluke. I genuinely think Arsenal are very, very well adept to go far in this tournament.
European champions.
Yeah,
They
and
have
I think
to be.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, if we look at like the other teams like Lyon, they have what I believe it to be an incredibly balanced run. I think.
Of course, they could genuinely win 6 out of 6.
And I think that's really frustrating.
Yeah.
And I think it's really annoying. Because I think Wolfsburg are not the prospect that we've seen of them in the last 3 years. I think St. Polten, I think they'll breeze past, and I think Juve, Atleti, and United are in a very similar predicament in terms of being teams that on their day could probably challenge Lyon, but I do think the strength in depth of Lyon, the experience, would just get them over the line.
100%. I think. What I like about the new setup is that even if you do lose to Lyon, you still got 5 games that I back you in pretty easily to get through. Obviously, Bayern away is not an easy precedent, especially the way they're playing.
Yeah, I'm scared.
But I still think even 4 out of 6 will get you through. And with your last year's performances, it doesn't really matter who you come up against over 2 legs. You're going to be a threat, and I think that's the interesting part about this new setup is that you don't have to go up and win every game. You don't have to. You just have to compose yourself, take each game one at a time, and then knock off the teams you can. And then when you get to the good teams, you don't have to put all guns blazing and get injuries, because there are players in your team you want to keep around for the later parts. Kim Little's not going to play every game because she's getting on a bit, and it's a good thing. It's good management. If Rene takes on the right player management, it'll be really impressive. I wanted to point out the fact that someone like Bayern Munich actually has a really hard run, and I'm actually quite worried for them as a pot 1 side with Arsenal, Barcelona, and PSG all in there. That's 3 games that aren't necessarily the easiest.
And we did see what happened last year, obviously a different model, but in terms of how PSG started incredibly strong in those group stages and then capitulated against a weaker opposition to then go on to lose to Arsenal away. And so I think Bayern need to, and I think it's one of the things that has challenged them in the last couple of seasons, be player management, recognizing where your priorities are. I think they have the strength. I think Leah Schuller's coming back into form. And I think...
Just this morning.
Yeah.
we were going to go for her again. You're lucky, Leah.
I think Julia Gwynn coming back for some minutes as well, I think will be very important.
Yeah, very important.
But yeah, very tough sides for them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think basically anyone that's got Barcelona, it's a bit of a humbling
Well, Chelsea
experience.
just love to have Barcelona.
Yeah, well,
I
mean, it's kind of hilarious that they stick them together every year. I can't wait till they play each other in an inevitable semi-final.
Well, surely this means that they at least like avoid each other a bit longer if they're playing in the...
Hopefully, but I don't know. I feel like Lika Martins presses the button again and something happens. But is there any pot 3 sides you want to talk about?
Look,
or pot two. I wanted to point out that I am genuinely afraid for OH Leuven. I know you're the first Belgian side, but
they were so chuffed when they got their draw. They were chuffed.
Really?
Yeah, they were chuffed.
I mean, I guess it is about. I mean, a lot of Champions League is about putting your name on the map.
Exactly.
And coming up against PSG, Barcelona, Arsenal, Roma, and Paris FC. Paris FC away will be really cool because they'll get that amazing atmosphere.
I reckon they'd take 2 games here.
You reckon?
No, I don't. But I think that they'll give.
That would be amazing.
Honestly, I think that I don't rate Roma at all this season. I think Twente and Paris are a very similar level, and I think. If anything, the Champions League, it can show up surprises.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for a few surprises because these pot 2 sides and pot 3 aren't like the bottom end of pot 2 and top of pot 3. They don't differ that much. Like St. Paulson are a solid side, but I don't think they're gonna amount any sort of pressure on the top sides, and they'll get fought. Like Twente will fight for it. They're not a team that folds so easily, especially with that back line that didn't concede much last year.
I do just find it frustrating that I guess with the diversification of talent, we are seeing a typical. Like I think we'll see a very typical later stages of the Champions League.
The Final Four.
I don't think there's a team here, bar possibly a United or an Athletic, maybe even a PSG, who will make a real run for it.
Like beyond quarters? Does it go straight to quarters? Is that how it's working?
Round of 16.
Yeah, round of 16. if there's 18 teams, I assume it goes straight to the quarters. But if it goes 18 to 8, it's hard to see any pot 3 or bottom end pot 2 side bar PSG making it through. Do you want to just do like an early prediction? Who's your final 4?
Arsenal.
That's it.
No, Arsenal I think will be there. I think Barcelona will be there. I do think, unfortunately, it's going to be Chelsea, and I think Lyon.
Okay, I'm going a shock. I'm going Arsenal, Barca, Bayern, Chelsea. I don't think
you
Lyon
don't think
it.
Lyon.
I think Lyon cop a round of 16. I think,
over 2 legs.
Actually, no, I've got this wrong. I think one of Barca or Lyon are going to cop each other.
Okay,
in a round of in a quarterfinal, and one of them's got to go.
So that's interesting because I think that both teams are strong over 2 legs, but in recent seasons it has been Barca who is shown to be the stronger.
Better, especially the second leg stuff.
Exactly.
I could see them if the first leg is at home for Lyon. I reckon they could cop a 1-0 and then they go to the Stadio de Cruyff and it's a 3-1 and that's it.
Not the Camp Nou.
Maybe
the
for that
Spotify
game.
Camp
Yeah,
Now.
it could be. It definitely could be, but depends how they change the schedule for that. But I think for me, I think one of the Titans will fall, and I think Bayern will try and push through if they can survive their 3-pot run. But yeah, that's what we have for Champions League. Now we're going to move to the WSL. So we're going to start with my team, Manchester City. 5-1. Martin Ho getting wrecked, son. You are nothing, and you are so lucky that Holt scored that goal in the 87th minute because that wasn't you. But yeah, that was the best performance of our year so far.
I think so, very
by
clearly.
a mile. Fujino starting, doing the business, taking the shot on. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to take those shots on from edge of the box. I want her to challenge goalkeepers, and she won the penalty for Bunny
to miss.
But yeah, Bunny did miss it, but she did win it, and I mean it was Claire Hunt's one. It was a bad moment for Claire Hunt. It was especially after I commended her last week.
Well, she actually started quite well, and I actually think one of the things about Spurs in the early stages of the season was one of the things that I really appreciated about them, if I can appreciate anything about Spurs, is that they were working as much more of a coherent unit.
Yeah, of course.
And I think a lot of the times there was a lot of top-heavy play last season.
I
think that they got their defense a bit in order,
100%.
And then this game happened.
Yeah, no, it was really like the floodgates kind of opened. Definitely. Obviously, Bunny missed the pen, but and Hempo got injured. So Bunny, it's more of a thing where it's like not your day kind of vibe. I don't know. I felt like the hempo rolling in the ankle. I don't know how bad it is. Didn't look too serious.
It didn't look too bad.
But it meant that Carolyn came on, and Carolyn was my player of the match.
Yeah,
Copa America winner, just doing Copa America winner things, like carrying the ball the way I want a winger to do that. The way in which she moves and finds space for other players, and I'm going to talk about another player later that she combined really, really well with. But we then got a corner. I think that was Carolyn who won us that corner. Viv scores that corner. Good to get her on the book. And look, my thing with Viv is that I genuinely have this issue with play. It's not really just like centered around Viv. It's more players that I don't like their body language and behavior.
And we talked about this yesterday.
Yeah, we did. But I just, like, when I'm watching her, and let's say we were 4-1 up and Viv takes this shot and it goes a bit wide and she looks like we're 3-0 down. She looks like she's absolutely miserable. And I'm like, okay, do you hate our club or do you hate yourself?
No, this is Viv textbook 101,
yeah,
right?
You
like,
know this better than I do.
I as a person who would sit down and just have Viv cam on, right? I could see that Viv is a player who's incredibly self-motivated.
Yeah.
And I think that what she encourages with herself and what she hopefully does with City is that she wants the best.
Of course.
Any situation. And there's, the famous times where we're 6-0 up against Reading. And she wants more goals. She's upset.
Why isn't it 9? Why isn't it 9? It's because you're 6 already. Like, come on. You've scored a double. Like, I understand. I do understand. And it's good to be like a serial winner and a serial competitor. I just think when you're 4-1 up, you set up a few plays, you've set up a few chances, just like...
I also think you have to remember this is a player that is incredibly frustrated with her own fitness. And I think and you have to remember also she's coming from the elite level. I mean, everyone that talks about Viv in the WSL calls her the GOAT for a reason. Yeah. I think it's really, really difficult when you have to try and go back to those levels. To the expectations. Yeah, so I mean, in a 5-1 for Arsenal, it was the same. She'd be having 3 on the score sheet instead of 1. I think that weighs heavy.
Yeah, but for me, I think, I don't know, it comes with a little bit of self-awareness and getting 1 out of the 5, being an important cog, getting the second 1 out of the 5, which is more important. Our back 4 was amazing. Martin Ho really didn't have an answer to Kasparai, who's really picked up her form since the Euros, definitely back to her level. LBB, Grace Pryor, that little triangle on that side.
I was a Pryor doubter.
Yeah, she's really doing it. I mean, look, she's not as good as your English young gun, which we'll get to later, but Kasparai was just moved forward at the right spots. LBB looked way more comfortable. Maybe it's just, obviously, I think Brighton's midfield is better than Tottenham's.
Yeah, agreed.
And she just made Samanan look really bad at points, and I actually kind of expected better. We spoke about Bunny Shaw before. She had a great headed chance, hit the post, but again, some days you just don't get on the score sheet. Her interplay with Viv was really good. And then finally, Grace Clinton's debut.
I've been waiting for this. I was like sad.
Yeah, my God, Jess Parker was making us look a mug. And then she came on and did a decent job. I'd give her a 7.
Okay.
She loves a goal against her old side. Puts an average shot that shouldn't have gone in. Definitely shouldn't have gone in. It was really, really sad. But the assist, I don't know how it's an assist, by the way. This is not an assist. Shooting a shot and then it getting deflected into the path of Laura Coombs for her goal. By the way, love that Coombsy got on the sheet.
I do.
But Grace Clinton did not deserve an assist for that. But there were just moments in that 70 to 80 where she's playing with Carolyn and you're like, whoa, okay, so she wants to be that like Rutala, like aggressive up the ball, like late runs from deep.
Well,
like,
that's her
you can't
job.
get touched.
She loves playing with those speedy techie wingers because they create so much space for her to do the business. On the cutback, whether it be deflection, whatever, she's there.
Left foot, right foot, everything. I think it will take a while to be Clinton pilled like properly because like United scum.
She's had the worst track record with teams.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, she could leave to Chelsea next week. Yes. Like, honestly, if she scores a hat trick for us, but And she did lose the ball to Holt. That was the consolation, that smacker that went right in the bins. That was a great strike. Again, consolations. But we take that in a 5-1 win. I'm very happy, and we move on to the next game. Your team versus Man United, a top 2 matchup at the time. Oh, actually, Chelsea had just won against Leicester. We'll get to that game after, but it was a top 2 versus 3 matchup. Whoever won would go top of the table. And your thoughts straight away?
Look, it was a stinkfest. Let's be honest. No, I think coming into this game, Renee really overestimated United and underestimated what her players could do. Because I think, like, if we go from the start, like we go from the starting lineup, playing Stina in the 9 and then like distinctly playing Russo in the 10.
Yeah.
Like this is not a 2-9 situation. Yeah. This is Russo in the attacking midfield role.
100%.
And I'm not going to call it dumb. I'm just going to call it stupid because we have not started a game with Russo and Stina on at the same time since late stage Jonas ball.
Yeah. But you were excited. I was excited because you thought it was a 2 up front.
Yeah, and I was excited. But, you know, you haven't also started Stina and had a good result since Leicester last year. And I've been like, I think I could score against Leicester blind with my weak foot, anything.
I don't think that's true after this week. I think there are some players that are a little bit better than us that struggled, but we'll get there.
Yeah, anyway,
we'll get there eventually.
I think, look, I recognize, and I think we all do, Russo's on-ball ability. Yeah. I think that has now created this faux pas where we think, Russo is this ball player, so as a result, she can obviously be creative and she can obviously bring the speed of the game further up the pitch. But I don't understand why we're wanting that when we can have that on the 18-yard box rather than the halfway line.
100%.
Because why are we shoehorning in a striker in the 10? As we have Freedom Arnhem, an objectively, like our best 10 in my opinion, a creator, someone who's stable in midfield, and I don't
a finisher, genuine strike, has just as good a shot. I'd argue just as good a shot as your wingers.
And I think she's far more creative than Russo, and I think that's what.
From that position,
we lacked that so much centrally. We were so forced to the right, and as a result, you tried to catch out who was it? Sanderberg. Yep,
Sanderberg on that left side, and Sanderberg made you look a little bit of a mug.
And I just think, you know, if we're going to play Russo in that 10, then actually mold. And that's the thing. You have to mold the game around her then. And if you're not then playing it to her, she had 30 odd touches. DVD had more touches than her. She was in goals. Yeah. So like
it's not a good look.
It's not a good look. And she did play the 90. I think we were far better when we introduced the subs. However, I don't think those subs necessarily made a difference. No. I think Marnham was the most impactful. I think the flanks were average. I was really disappointed with Chloe Kelly, as we had Taylor Hines play as well. Yeah. Secure, fine.
She was actually I would say Hines was probably your best sub in terms of, I felt like Mallard was getting out the back, who was actually like, look, we've criticised Mallard many a time. I think she's definitely growing into the notoriety that she's getting because you treated her with immense respect.
Yeah, well, that PR just got outdone by an 18-year-old.
Yeah, so the thing was that who was going to match up to her, because Catley did it for about 5 minutes at the start of the game and did a good job, and then she got out the back once, and then they switched from Catley to Reid, and we watched an 18-year-old have a breakout. Like, that was like, last week was great, like, and even the first week, her first game, like, other than that one mistake, she was very, very good. This was the breakout game. This was like every duel, every tussle on the ground with her feet, slide tackles, aerial threats, winning fouls. That was the big one. Like, being able to get out the back, reading where Mallard would run, occupying that space and getting fouls when you need to slow down the game. She was my man of the match by a country mile. And again, it's hard because it's a 0-0. Obviously, you've got to give it to a defender or a goalie. Tallis Joyce made a few saves, which was pretty impressive.
Superman flying about everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Olivia Smith gave her a really good strike. Don't know how she didn't get a corner for it, but my biggest thing for Arsenal wasn't the players, it was Renee. It was really disappointing. I've seen her being very pragmatic before, change up formations very quickly. Sonia can do it. We saw that against City. I kind of put her not at Sonia level yet, but she's of that ilk.
She's a
where
Champions League
she,
winning
yeah,
coach.
she's trying to be
Yeah.
that level,
Yeah.
and it's hard when you're watching these two strikers who can't play together the way they're being shoehorned to. It was actually reminiscent of her former boss in Jonas.
Well, yeah, I think one of the things distinctly that I can tell the difference between Jonas and Renee is not necessarily the game style. However, that is one of the differences. It's the willingness of the players. At the latest,
they die on a sword.
yeah,
for it.
at the later stages of Jonas, there were fantastic players playing very average football because I don't think that they were buying in.
Yeah.
I think that with Renee, this is a gaffer that I think those players would genuinely completely blinded by maybe their loyalty to her. Because if I were Alessia Russo, and I mean, I'm not a professional, but I think I would.
You are.
Yeah,
to me, you are a
thank
professional
you.
to me.
But I would genuinely be questioning that decision from the perspective of this is Alessia Russo who got man of the match playing in the 9 last week.
Yeah.
Had a
And the
great
week
first
before,
had a great
LCL
first
played
game.
Yeah.
And I think keeping her shoehorned in and locked away in that number 10 is really it's taking away what we love.
All the best parts of her link-up play come from the 9, not from
agree.
the 10. You don't move it down because then you have to deal with Olme. You have to deal with the base of midfield. You have to deal with getting stepped on from the back. And Janssen made Stina look not necessarily that strong.
And I think that when we're talking about necessarily all the Russo stuff, we kind of get lost in remembering that there was another player in the 9 who was Stina.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for Stina, but I think that woman is stuck on the 75th minute plus.
And I called you Super Sub of the Week. Renee, I didn't say never bench again. You're not listening. And this is why, because 0 to 6, I don't think she's ever played beyond 0 to 45 at least. And the whole power of Stina is that her raw brute strength on the ball from 45 after a defender has played 45 is that no one can run with her. The body that she has, the physical build she has to step across players and create contact that's unmatchable doesn't happen in the 0 to 45, and you get the full brunt of Janssen, who was bodying her and putting pressure on her. Their defender, Maya Letizia, you made them look really, really solid at the back.
And I hate that because I don't actually think, despite the stats looking incredibly close, despite there were chances, especially later
more
on.
chances. They had more chances than you, but the quality of chance was lower.
I just found that this is like a joke of a title contender in United. If you are playing at home and Mark Skinner probably by minute 75 is playing for a draw, I think that's pathetic.
But the winner, but look, the winner of that game is ultimately Sonia Bompasta. I think she was licking her lips at the fact that both these contenders have dropped points now, and 2 points is a huge metric. I mean, we lost to them first, so that's 3 points on us, and now they've got 2 points on you guys. But to be fair, you have got United away, out of the way, which is really good. That's the only thing I'll say, and they're going to struggle at if you play them at the Emirates, which I think it is because all your home games are at the Emirates, which is amazing.
It's because we can fill out our stadium. It's crazy.
Oh my god, yeah. Take a shot every time in the next 100 podcasts we do that Leggy mentions the fact that her fans are crazy. I think Park was very good. She got moments in the back end of that game where she was running out behind Little. Little and Mallard had a little bit of a tussle in that game.
I am obsessed with Kim Little remembering that she's Scottish and she can just be angry because I found that Kim Little was incredibly dependable this game that I haven't seen in a while, especially in defense. I think the way that she was moving around that kind of 6 role, I also think that it really encouraged our players to move up the pitch. I think the sheer cover of Reed, even though I don't think at times Reed needed it, but I think it was incredibly it was an asset.
Yeah, when Reed falls over, she goes bang.
Yeah,
it was like beautiful. It was beautiful.
I mean, I would love to see Kim Little step over Mallard every
Any
week.
other time. Yeah, is that your new ringtone?
Yeah.
Just that little step. But yes, from one Scottish player with a bit of spite to another Scottish player with a bit of spite. We're going to move to around the grounds, WSL. We're going to talk about Chelsea Leicester very quickly because you know what? Somehow it was nearly more of a stinker than your game.
No, it was definitely more of a stinker because I think I came into this game expecting a 6-0.
I actually told my dad it's going to be 11-0. Dad, every player is going to get on the score sheet for Chelsea. They're going to batter them. They're going to get all the possession. I looked so dumb when Sonia was so regressive, so negative. It was so hard to watch. She was trying to invert Carpenter. It wasn't working.
It was not working.
She had one shot at the keeper. I didn't think it was that good. One sprayed wide. One cross that wasn't great.
I think that defense is hanging on by Natalie Bjorn, and that's pretty much it. I think Millie Bright was quite poor. I think there's a midfield there. Apparently there's a midfield there.
I think you know what it was? You know what's weird? It's weird that I'm about to put Leicester and Barcelona in the same sentence. Basically, I remember when they were 3-1 down in the first, I think it was the first leg of the Champions League last year. And I remember watching them when they went 3-1 down and they didn't know whether they were going to press or like try and hold 3-1 and try and get back at them at the bridge, or to go for a goal and get the second one. And I'm watching them play, and they're 1-0 up, obviously early. Cuthbert feeds that ball through to Aggie. Aggie gets one-on-one very easily, which was, Leicester, that's what I kind of expected. But then Leicester got really resolute at the back. They stuck behind Hannah Kane. They stuck behind EVE, who got, I would argue, probably some of the best chances of the game.
Well, I felt like Leicester they had these chances, and it was just purely their quality that.
Yeah, it's interesting to say it's quality, but it's also just willingness. They wanted this game more than Chelsea did, and Hannah actually had to make a few claims and a few not immense saves because they were just at the keeper, but they didn't know whether they were trying to get a second goal or they were trying to hold the lead and consolidate.
There was
the ball.
Absolutely no leadership. It was kind of like Sonia had an idea of how she was going to play against Leicester, and then the players were completely on a different page, on a different planet. I think looking at some of the execution by the Chelsea players as well, I think we can blame Sonia for the incredibly regressive style of football that she put out there, but I don't think that the players helped themselves.
No,
I think that there were chances there that they could have made further. I think the inclusion of Sam and Alyssa Thompson, I think that was supposed to ignite something up forward, but I think that it just left Alyssa Thompson on the ground way too much, and Sam Kerr.
You're going to be mean now.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There was a passage of play where Aggie Beaver-Jones picked up the ball from halfway.
Oh yeah, no.
And Sam Kerr is just watching her as Aggie Beaver-Jones cruises past her. And
as I said, the Berbatov running, where you don't running with intention. But the reality was, I don't know if it was.
I don't think any of those Chelsea players wanted to score. It's basically Aggie Beaver-Jones just trying to prove Serena Wiegman wrong, and that's her motivation to play. Because I think
that's a good motivation.
Well, sure. But I think people may, in later in the season, look back on this game and be like, okay, well, it was a win of champions. Yeah. Good for those champions. I think
win, but look bad.
Yeah, and I think, look, if Chelsea go on and win the league playing like this, it'll be basically.
It's going to raise a lot of questions.
No, and it's not just that. I think it'll be incredibly disappointing from the other team's perspectives. But this to me signifies why I don't think Chelsea will go any further in the Champions League.
It'll be interesting. I think that this kind of result is the kind of thing that they want in the Champions League. Obviously, different opposition, but that's the kind of 1-0 tussle and hustle that they want.
But they held on 1-0 against Leicester.
Yeah, that's true. It's not a good look in the end, and I didn't like the rhetoric online from their own fans. Yeah. That was really disgusting.
Entitled.
Yeah, you did win. You are top of the league, and you're still miserable. And I think it's you're about to be. If you win this league, which I don't think you will, because I don't. Again, performances like this make me think you're gettable, which is weird. But I think it's ridiculous to be. You're 6 in a row. You've won how many domestic trebles nearly in a row? You guaranteed 2 trophies a year at this point, and it's just not saying Sonia's playing terrorist football when the reality is she was trying to consolidate. I don't think she knew how she was going to get the second goal, which is tough, but that's really it. And then
I think blame your players. I think because at the end of the day,
do you think the pink jersey from Leicester put them off?
Yes, I do. I think that they looked at that disgusting pink jersey, and I think they all went into some sort of haze.
That's so harsh. Yeah, a pink haze, not a purple haze. Easy. We're gonna move on from Chelsea, and we're gonna talk about LCL getting their first points. In the WSL against Everton. Very sad. I like Everton.
I got asked by a friend, our mutual friend.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Illy. I got asked, what's worse, if LCL make a late title charge or Chelsea win the quadruple?
Oh
I
my God.
personally couldn't answer that question, unfortunately. I
It's an
couldn't do
interesting
it.
question.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I personally think that LCL being anywhere near Manchester City makes me feel ill.
Yeah.
Whereas Chelsea quadruple could actually happen.
No, because I said to her, look, I can't the insufferability of those Chelsea fans, I can't see them win a Champions League.
No, 100%.
But LCL to me is just like a whole other.
Yeah, no, I don't want them near. And you know what? Chelsea are going to beat us anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with Chelsea doing that, and LCL
I'm
can
happy
go down.
with both teams just imploding.
That's true. But again, LCL won. Goodwin finally getting that first goal off the mark. You could see she was really stressing it.
Yeah.
But it was a great finish, the first one. And then Lindstrom plays that great ball to Paris. Paris plays it across. She gets a second goal within like 10 minutes. That's what happens. One becomes two.
Yep.
But then the second half, LCL, again, being 30 on the field with a bunch of 18-year-olds, it really shows because they got unfit. Everton had chances. They got that. I mean, while Vignola didn't really get near the ball and was a bit isolated, had one really good strike, but that was it. It was LCL's game to lose, and they didn't lose it, luckily for them. Very interesting to see Everton go down, but again, it was at home. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about that game. Gioro came on. Yeah.
I just don't think that this should be any indicator of future success for
That's
LCL.
fair. That's fair.
I really think that, I think wins are important, and I think getting these points early
off
on.
the mark. They're off the mark.
I think getting these points early on will be encouraging, but I don't necessarily see London City, especially that second half performance. I feel like it's a far greater indicator of what they are showing in the WSL on a 90-minute basis.
100%.
And I just don't think that against the teams that I think one of the better things about the WSL is that teams do grow into the league.
Of course.
And I think teams like Tottenham, Everton, West Ham, we're seeing them play very poorly now, but I think they have the experience. They have the experience. They know what they're doing.
They know what it's like to play 22 games at this level against this opposition.
And I hate to say it, well, I don't really, but the squad in those teams is not like 30 plus.
No,
and they're not going to break down by December.
Well, their average age is 25, but it's made up of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, and then 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
And the thing was that I still find surprising that I don't know if Giora is not fit or not, but spending 1.4 million on a player who comes on in the 65th.
Well, she's just signed, to be fair. I think one of the things that we talked about early on with LCL is that they don't really have that cohesion. Yeah. I think maybe that's one of the things that they're wanting to maybe blood in is Giora into that squad. I think my biggest question is, where is Van der Donk?
Well, that's true. From what I've read is that she's been injured since.
Wow, crazy! Picking up a very injury-prone player at the latter stages of her career.
But the thing I don't understand is that, like, yes, you're right. They're going to feed in Gioro, but the other players haven't been. I said it last week. They haven't been there that long to facilitate this kind of like notion that she can't fit in only for 40 minutes. Like, she's such a bull. She's such an engine. At PSG, she made everyone around her better. For France, she makes everyone around her better.
I think also she's the only player on that team in their prime right now.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the play. It's probably your marquee signing, your marquee player. Yeah. But yeah, that's me. Jocelyn, get to work, mate. Next game, this was fun. This was
great.
You know
for
what?
My agenda.
My new favorite team after my own is Brighton.
You can't say
They're
that.
so good.
You can't say
because Vidicic plays beautiful, chaotic Australian football, and you know what?
Okay.
That's what that's what I want. Like, if I'm watching neutral, and I kind of wanted a draw, I want West Ham to get off the mark, but West Ham. We'll get to them. Oh my God, they are in serious issues, and Rianne Skinner, you might get a really early Christmas nightmare. But Brighton were immense. Yeah. Rosa Kafaji, man of the match.
And this is I appreciate Brighton because of just the amount the
Arsenal fans. I like Brighton because it's Arsenal. I like Brighton because of how they play, but how they play is really good because they're full of Arsenal players.
I think I said this on the first pod. I really love Kafaji's creative flair, but one of the things I didn't mention then was her drive. I think she's an incredibly willing player. I think she makes unselfish runs. I think one of the things I was very critical and skeptical of was her decision making, especially in the center of the park. But I genuinely thought she was one of the hegemons of that Brighton win.
Absolutely, 100%. She's actually averaging the highest match score. She got the man of the match in that game,
And an incredible goal.
Unbelievable goal. The way she links up with Ajimang, Kirby. I mean, Kirby can't play more than 50, 60 minutes. But when they're on, I genuinely think if Kavaji came on earlier in our game against them, they would have won. I think they would have beaten us. Olislaga's getting on the score sheet as well. I just love their midfield. Their midfield is so fun to watch. They press so high. They press so hard. They made West Ham look like a bunch of players who never played together when this is actually not a dissimilar team to what they had last year. And they were actually quite successful in the back end with players like Shakira Martinez getting on the score sheet nearly every game for the last 8. But this is not the same West Ham.
I've spoken about Rianne Skinner before. I do not think that she is a good manager. I understand that she has a lot of experience in the WSL and abroad. But I think that one of the shortcomings of this West Ham team is a player that can and a system that can be really worked around. Yeah. I don't think that there's one player, and I think that's what we saw at the end of last season, a player that can really spur this team on through a system that encourages them to play football. I think West Ham, I mean, Chelsea can complain all they like about their football, but West Ham play anti-football. It's like they're allergic to it.
Yeah, it's not. It's anti-result football at least. They're copping 3-4 goals a game now.
They're looking like they might go down.
It's scary. Yeah. It's a scary precedent that LCL aren't going down. But I think, I don't know, they have players that you know that you can get more out of them. That's the only shining light I can say.
I just don't think there's buy-in. It's reminding me a lot of Arsenal last year. And looking at the face of those players, the effort I'm going.
Do you think a managerial change could spark it?
I do think so, because I think that change at West Ham has shown to yield results.
But that's what I'm saying is that those players are better than being relegated. Katrina Gorry, Shakira Martinez. I'm trying to think.
Zadorsky.
Vivian Asay. Yeah. These aren't relegation fodder. No. This is a team of players who could definitely on their top form play top half football. Yeah. But that's all we really have for the WSL. Vamos, back to the Spain. Yep. FC Barcelona, we do this every single week. Sevilla, 5-0 in a very minor thriller. They just had immense control again, 80% possession. Not much to say. I don't think.
I'm not surprised. I think that Barcelona are still playing within themselves. Even 5-0. I mean, it's nearly 30 goals now in 4 games. I think.
Yeah. 27?
Yeah, something like that. Thanks, quick maths.
27, crazy.
I think that, I think Barcelona right now are really easing their way. And I say easing in a very, it's funny to say, but I think last season in the opening stages of the Liga FA campaign, I think it was actually quite symbolic of how they would go on to play for the rest of the season.
100%.
I'm really hoping that the results that they're showing in this early part will be emblematic of an incredibly strong campaign by them, which means that they're not going to put down 1-0, 2-0. I just want them to kill teams.
Yeah, but they are doing it. It's just a different outlook. Seeing them bench Ella, that's cool. Seeing them, Puteas limited minutes, Aitana limited minutes. They're managing the fact that they have less players, and I like it a lot. It's a really smart decision from Romeo, someone that didn't really command the same respect last year. I felt like he was a bit out of his depth, and it got found out in the final. But this team, they're making the right decisions to keep their players fit for the big matches, and I think that's really amazing. Real Madrid, solid win as well. So after the UCL win, it came to Deportivo.
They've had a good couple of weeks.
Yeah, they got a really bad red card in that game. Sheila Garcia. If you're watching the Sheila, crazy tackle. Yeah. But they killed them. They killed them off, even with the red. De Brits. What's she talking about, Leggy?
Look, Sara De Brits is benefiting off the fact that I think that all the Spanish defenders are built on slow twitch muscles, because she is not the fastest player in the world, but she is able to break lines with ease. And I think that one of the things that we're seeing with Real Madrid is we're not necessarily seeing that typical front three that we saw last season. I think they're mixing and matching them. I think Athene is coming on rather than starting. And I think that as a result, you're actually seeing a far greater performance in midfield that is distributing to different types of attackers.
100%. I said to you during that weekend, during that match, I genuinely think if I want a rebound goal, if someone hits the ball at the keeper and it bounces off to parry, I want Caroline Weir on the end of it. She's done it now three in the last 4 match days. Unbelievable. Caicedo came on after her UCL performance, got a really good ovation, good cameo as well, assisted Athenea's strike that probably shouldn't have gone in. But again, when you're playing opposition, it doesn't matter how they go in. You've just got to put pressure on the scoreboard. And Real Madrid are doing so now with ease. Atletico were doing that, and then they copped a little bit of adversity in this game, in the second of 6 Madrid derbies that happened, because obviously there's Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, and Madrid CFF. So Atletico played Madrid CFF. And my friend to the right of me, Allegra, I believe her name is Allegra, scored. She got man of the match for Madrid CFF.
It's in the name.
Goal. It was a very average ball across the box, but Meg, the player, Meg, a player, and then went side netting. So it was like, I don't know if she was aiming for a goal. I don't think it was like an Olga Carmona left back strike.
If she's anything like Allegra, she desperately has intense midfielder syndrome. Yeah. So that was definitely a cross to try and assist because she doesn't want a goal.
It's beautiful.
No, but I think Atletico, have been incredibly strong at the start of the season. I think this is a slight detour from what is an incredibly strong campaign that I see from them. I think that the players that I think have really disappointed me, though, I think players like Gio. I mean, and then again the Arsenal connection.
But I was going to say you have a bit of what do you call it? You have like
priors.
I was going to say you have a few receipts.
Yeah, I think a lot of those players came off of incredibly good summer tournaments, and I think
in the Copa,
and I think that we're seeing the same goal scorers by Athletic. I think I just want to see a bit more diversity.
And I mean they're 1-0 down. They did scoop the point, which is good. I think Madrid CFF could have actually got the win there, but Luani comes on, and yet again, this is the 3rd time Luani's come on from the bench and assisted Fiamma Benitez. It's a 1-1 draw. Drops points. Barca steam ahead now, full stream. They are now 2 points ahead of the pack, and it's very early, and that number could keep on rising. But that's all I have for Spain. Now we're going to move to our favourite league by a mile.
The FRAUEN.
The Bunds. The FRAUEN Bunds. Bayern, we can talk about 2 games today because we had a game this morning, so we're filming this on the 24th. There was a game this morning, but there was a game last week. Complete opposites of each other.
And I would rather talk about the game today.
Yeah, well, let's do the game last week just really quickly. 0-0 against FC Carl Zeiss. Yeah,
it's one of the worst games of football.
Yeah, it was a 0-0. 29 shots from Bayern, 5 on target. They had no 9 on the field. No. And I was about to ask you, before this game this morning, I was going to ask you, what do they need to do to fix this team before they come up against Freiburg, who are top of the table at this point? And then they basically fixed it themselves.
I didn't even have to answer anything.
So it was a 4-0 win. Bayern coming back properly. Obviously some consolations that are really bad in a 4-0, which is weird to say because they won 4-0. But Zadrazil looked like a really, really bad injury. Oh my God.
But it did make way for Oberdorf to come on. And I think that her impact on the game, once again...
Never bench again.
Yeah. I said it a couple pods ago. I genuinely think that Oberdorf is a game changer. I think that when you have someone so stable and so solid and so willing to be defensively and offensively solid, I think that means that you're going to inevitably create more chances.
Just unlock Stanway. Stanway can go further up the field. 3 assists out of the 4 goals with Georgia Stanway. One of those goals was another header. 3 headers in 4 games from my Canadian goat.
And I think it's all... I mean, this particular goal didn't necessarily come from a clubbable corner.
No.
But I think that those crosses in were... incredible.
Perfection. They got so many corners that game. I think it was like 11 or 12.
I'm really happy that she got on the score sheet late in that game as well. Cartable. I think she's a player that is, I think, incredibly overlooked when it comes to just what she can do on that left flank. And I think that they look a better team when players like Leah Schuler are in form. I think
she looked back. She comes on, comes off the bench. And then Gwyn returned as well, Julia
I think
Gwyn.
they just have really creative, really progressive players in their ranks.
If everyone's kicking, they are a serious contender. Not just for the league, but they'll put numbers in the Champions League, I think. I like when Stanway and Schuller are linking up together.
Yeah.
The speed at which they play and the direct nature of Leah Schuller. She just takes shots on. Even if you hit it, she hits it so hard at the keeper.
Yeah, toe
It's just the parries that happen. It just ends up with a goal or a rebound or a chance creation with a corner. Again, she's one of those players when she's in flow state.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many strikers in the world better than Leah Schuller. The VFL game, the Wolfsburg game against Köln, this was a crazy game.
Yeah.
2-1. Again, this is why we watch the Bundes, right? So Köln scores the first goal.
Yeah.
This girl, Imping, just kind of runs the ball up the field on her own and then just whacks it from about 30 yards, 25 yards, top bins. She's got number 14 on her back, so it felt like I was watching the Emirates as a child, watching Thierry Henry from the edge of the box. Smacks it in the top left corner. Mental stuff to go 1-0 up. Then Pop does what Pop does.
Yeah.
Headers the ball down to Bierenstein. They get the one all.
Previous to that, Bierenstein had the most Bierenstein attempt in the world. Like if anybody knows and watches Bierenstein ball, they know that girl, she loves a diagonal ball coming to her and her running onto it and then looking up and going crap. And then just shitting her pants because she realizes she has to beat a keeper 1v1.
Utensil of a right foot,
Yeah.
and that utensil is a spoon. But then she heads it. She heads the ball in, and this is a sad shout out to Martina Hegering, who I didn't know played for Köln.
Yeah.
But she
Previous
heads it. She
VFL
tries to head the ball that Bierenstein has off the line, and just full on dive bombs into the net, and it was very sad. But and then to win the game, obviously VFL win this game 2-1. Our favourite left back in the world at this point, yes,
The only left back, the only one.
Curing left back itis in the world. Janu levels in the 96th minute, whips it in. To Camilla Coover, who's an amazing new up-and-coming centre-half, whacks it with her head in the 96th minute
This
to
is
win the game.
Amazonian, Stina Blackstenius. If you look at her, they all look the same.
The German Stina.
Yeah.
The German Stina. It was a ripper header, a ripper corner. Germany does the best corners. What a shock.
Yeah, wow.
But yeah, VFL with a really clutch win. I don't know if it's it's a good win. It was good vibes,
No,
good limbs, but they've got to be better, don't they?
I think that this is, they obviously had the opposite of this happen to them weeks ago, where they lost. They drew after a late concession, and I think Wolfsburg are very well aware that they need to keep the levels to try and challenge keep the levels.
They do have to keep levels
to try and challenge the title contenders like Hoffenheim.
100%. Speaking of Hoffenheim, copping a loss first time in a bit. This was just a moment's game. Really, I watched the highlights of this game so many times. I love this. This was probably my favorite game of the week. Mainly because Searchy FC getting knocked down a peg. Werder Bremen, I'm going on the record. Larissa Mulhouse, who in my head is Larissa Matthaus, baller watch. Yeah, she's 22 years old, had a few chances across the game, but in the first the first minutes of the game, she runs the ball. Yeah, I think it was the third minute. She runs at Lisa Dawn, does 4 or 5 step overs, cooks the crap out of Lisa, and then she wins the penalty and then scores the penalty. Yeah. Also, we're going to get to NWSL later on. That pen was absolute perfection.
That's how you do it. That is
that was the mintiest.
Trinity Rodman, Sam Coffey. I'm getting the receipts out. That's how you take a penalty.
Yeah, the stance was good. The strike was good. Sent the keeper the wrong way. Then Hoffenheim had actually didn't really have the momentum in the first half. Then Werder Bremen were in control until the 63rd minute, where Melissa Kursler gets a ball pinged to her. Actually, not really to her, just into space. And she outruns the crap out of Lena, I think it's Huasike. I don't know how to pronounce her name. But she's a centre mid. She was on the left flank for some reason. Kursler runs if you watch this clip, Kursler's literally running at a speed that no one can keep up with. and
So much
she
so.
smashes her
Yep.
in the process. She falls over, she runs, she tries to take a shot at the keeper saves it, it parries back to her hands. Or back to her body, she heads it across, and Searchy finishes off the nice head up after the rebound. So it was 1-1 from there, and then from 1-1, everything was going Hoff's way. Literally every single attack. The Werder Bremen goalkeeper, her name is Mariella El Sheriff, the Sheriff.
It's like we have a different goalkeeper of the week in the Bundesliga.
It's
They're
crazy.
just producing incredible.
And then I think El Sharif has to be in my top 5 WOSO names, but we'll have to come to that in an international break. The best names of WOSO, but she made about 5-6 saves in trying to keep this 1-1. And it was absolutely insane. Like this Austrian keeper to look out for at the moment, because when Zinsberger will hang the boots, she's the one. She's the one who's going to do it. But then basically the moment of the round is when Amoke Papai. We'll talk about her a lot.
Player.
Yeah, this is mental, by the way.
I think this is the definition of just keep going. Keep going.
It was unbelievable. So she gets tackled tackled onto the floor by Grabowska. Grabowska, the whole game stops. Everyone stops. Expects the referee to just be like, blow a whistle, blow something. And the ref just doesn't blow. Grabowska tries to take the ball from the back of Papai, who's on the floor. And then she does the best La Croqueta lane change I've ever seen with her kneecap. Gets up so quick. And then from the angle, edge of the box, 90th minute, with the Euros ball, pings it into the top right corner to win the game with their only attack, basically, in that half. Wins the game for Werder Bremen. Hoffenheim on the floor, what the hell's just happened here? Mental scenes, my favourite game of the round. Definitely. I don't think there's really much else to say about that game. It was absolutely mental.
Your favourite game, not the next one.
We're about to talk about the Frankfurt-Leipzig game. I know it was 4-3, but I feel like Leipzig didn't I know it was 4-3. The score was a bit deceiving. I don't think they really had a chance to get back in it.
I think this was a very, very good game if you're for neutral. I think what Frankfurt showed was their ability to get it over the line especially when Leipzig were coming quite late, quite strong. I think we saw from Leipzig, I think we had the foundations of a good team. I think that they lack defensively. I think that was probably their major issue. I think Frankfurt defensively have been weak in the last couple of weeks, but I think, and that goes to show that, they conceded 3 goals, but I think what they were able to show was that midfield to attacking link up by Frankfurt. I think when on their day, I think it's unstoppable.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think I have to shout out Rutala, another game. When they're on, Rutala is everything good about Frankfurt. What was the striker's name? Blomqvist? Yeah, she got a brace. She was great. Illerstedt got on the score sheet. Typical really, really good. I just think there was some good chances. I think Leipzig really took their chances. The first goal is actually the best goal. Mehmeti's goal, the Leipzig goal. Starts her own attack, pings the ball to the right, back to her. It is the most unnecessarily top bins goal of the week, I think.
That's your favourite goal, isn't it?
It is my favourite goal. That is probably that goal and Imoke Papai. This is why we watch the Bundesliga. We need a t-shirt. It's just, this is why we watch the Bundesliga. It was fantastic. Hoffman had a good game for Leipzig. She just had chances.
I think she's a player I don't expect a lot from. I think in terms of what I see from her on the park, I don't think she's going to do something incredibly fantastic. But I do think that when you need a goal, I would look to her, especially in the league format, to make something out of nothing. Yeah.
Especially in that team, need someone with that experience to be the match winner, or to tighten up the games. I
guess on the other, we're looking at that kind of last 20 minutes. Who came on? Hayley Raso. What did you think of her performance?
Oh, I can see her leaving again. No. I can see her leaving again. There was one really good play that she had. I think it was the 80th minute. Rutala sets her up. She has a good strike, but also, I don't know, it's just a little bit underwhelming, and it's one of those players. There are just so many players in the world that sometimes they're good for club and not for country. Some players are good for country, not for club. And Hayley Raso is just one of those players that just can't properly
cement herself in a team.
In a club,
I think on that point, there are just so many players like Hayley Rasso as well.
Yeah,
I don't.
She's not alone. Definitely.
No, and
not.
I think that what separates those other players from Hayley is I think that they are. I think the mentality. I think that has to be questioned, and I also think that the consistency. What I appreciate about Hayley Rasso for Australia, is that when I know that she's put an Australian jersey on, she's going to play her heart out. Yeah. But I don't see that for club, and I haven't seen that since her days at Portland in the NWSL.
That's crazy. It's a lot, and that's a long time ago at this point. My thing with Ferrasso is, I mean, I know it's hard to do it when you're coming off the bench, but that was the perfect kind of game to do it.
Exactly.
That was the 4-3. It was 3. I think it was 4-1, 4-2. You've come on. All you have to do is seal the deal.
She's done it before off the bench.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. It's one of those things where I really like Hayley Rasso, and I want her to succeed in every metric because she plays football the way I want to play football.
Definitely.
The feisty, small, diminutive, but powerful, and can rip the ball really hard. I don't know if it's in my head, if it's the scenery, if it's the coaching. I don't know.
Easing her way into the
yeah, exactly. It's time. Let's give it time. I don't know if she needs, like, I know I said she should move. She doesn't need to move.
She doesn't have Champions League football. I think that's important.
And you know what? Maybe she can cement her league form better before she cements herself, even potentially getting into the starting 11. But again, if Rutel is playing off the right like she was this game, I'd really struggle with that. That's all for the Bunds. God, I love talking about the Bunds. It's just the best of the best every week, without fail. We're done with Germany. We are moving on to France.
Yep.
Vive la France. Well, we talk about one game every week. We talk about Lyon, and Lyon smacked up Saint Etienne. I think it was 2-0. Comfortable 2-0, but again, not the most amazing performance, because I mean it is just an artificial team. It's so weird when you're watching them.
I do think that the argument I've heard from Lyon fans online is that the opportunities that Barca are taking up in a league that they are obviously dominant in, I think Lyon should be doing the exact same thing. They have Jonathan Heraldes as their coach now. I mean, I've never seen such regressive football from a manager who I've seen some of the most beautiful football come from.
Yeah, that's what I was. We spoke about this before, that I thought he'd bring the best out of them, and it's not.
I think that the defense there. I understand that they're still trying to work out their best defensive four. I do think, and I do like having Wendy and Engen in that centre half, and I think the two flanks. I mean, outside of Basher, I do not trust that right.
The right side is crazy. The right side is interesting to have. They brought so it was Tarsian this week, not Ash Lawrence, and she did look out of her depth a little bit. They did target her a little bit. Nelaj, that was the cover for Wendy. She was actually all right. I actually thought she played really well. But I find Engen is more of, she's not the leader centre half. She's the passenger centre half.
I definitely think that they need, especially in any centre half duo that is good, I think that you have a leader there, someone who recognizes their role. Yeah, recognizes their role isn't to distribute or to be the progressor of the ball, but it's simply just to be the last line of defense.
100%. And I think for me, there's players like De Mornay and Brann on the widths, who were obviously, like, Brann created chances.
I was just about to say, I think.
And sadly, Ada Hegerberg didn't take any of them, but Katoto did.
Yep.
Then I'd say Lindsay Heaps. She was probably, for me, I think she
No,
was the player
Ben.
of the match. I know you're going to hate this, and I hate this because I don't like.
It is a player who is given far too much time on the ball and who has one good thing in her locker, which is a header.
Yeah, but she commands respect. That's the thing. She had a great strike in the 24th minute. De Mornay played it to her, and she whacked in the bar. Then Selma Basher, who you could argue is probably the other player of the match, whips the ball into Lindsay, who scores a perfect set piece. It was a very routine game. It'll be interesting to see them get a little bit more uncomfortable, because it's all comfortable at the moment, and the Champions League will facilitate that.
At the same time, I don't think PSG will be offering any sort of threat this year. No. I honestly think that Lyon will ease their way through Division 1 with the greatest ease of any of the top elite teams who play in the quote-unquote farmers leagues.
100%. It's very true. I couldn't actually, that's a perfect way to end the Viva la France segment off. Benchwarmers Awards. I love this. I love when we do this every
It's
week.
the best part.
It is. Oh, now we got some bits coming up that I think are my favorite. But obviously, to remind our listeners, our awards are the Never Bench Again. Someone who's either been on the bench before, has come on now, and just shouldn't ever be benched because of their notable performance. A super sub of the week, someone who comes off the bench, does the business, and just deserves a shout out. And then our favourite, the come on the pod, the ultimate bench warmer. Do you want to start with your Never Bench Again?
I talked a bit about it earlier, and it's funny that, I mean, spoilers a little bit for yours, but we have it from the same team. I think it just goes to show what Renee got wrong with this game in terms of starting lineup, because my Never Bench Again is Frida Marnham.
Frida Marnham,
again,
interesting.
The most underrated player in Arsenal's team.
The only player I like.
Because she's not from Norway.
Norwegian.
But I do think that we lacked so much centrally, and I think our system of play right now is really reliant upon our goal scorers scoring goals and our wingers facilitating those goals, but also being able to score goals themselves. But I think we're forgetting that an integral part of this Arsenal team is the midfield. I think one of the things that Arsenal have had across all our eras is a really strong midfield. And I think Frida Marnham is just one of many to come before her to be that real 10 that can be creative, that can be defensively strong.
Yeah.
And I think that her link up with Russo and her link up with the flanks is something that we missed.
It's weird to call her a 10, you know, because she's just so much more than a 10, but also she's like not a 10. She's like an 8, but she can mold into that way better than any of the others can.
She does so much for that midfield, that attack, and that defense.
The off-ball work, even the off-ball work, the physical nature of how she plays. Definitely worthy of a Never Bench Again. My Never Bench Again is Arsenal. It's Katie Reid, and I think I'm saying that because she will be benched eventually.
You think?
When Leah comes back, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how she gets in the team, but I don't think you can because she's actually your best centre half. I not off name. Obviously, if we're going name FC, like Leah Williamson carries a lot of weight. She's just finished very high in the Ballon d'Or count. But Katie Reid is defensively, not necessarily leadership wise. I think Catley is holding up the end of that, but is doing a job that needs to be done. And did it against the top level that you basically get in the WSL other than Chelsea. You can't play, you have to work out that mix. And obviously, when you're playing Champions League, you have to rest players, right? So if you're playing, I can't remember your draw, but if you're playing Benfica away, maybe give Leah Williamson, who's broken her leg, a rest. Maybe give Catley, who's flown 15,000 kilometers to play a friendly, an international friendly, a rest, so Katie Reid can play a Champions League game and hold a clean sheet for you.
We are forgetting that there is Asia Cup during this season.
Yeah.
So I think that Katie Reid will fit into the Steph Catley spot.
Yeah.
I think
on the left side, do you think she can do it?
Either or. At this point, I think Katie Reid is securing herself as to being our most secure defender. But I think what's interesting is what Katie Reid is showing weekly is what I think, and this might shock you, what I think Leah Williamson isn't as strong as right now. I think Leah Williamson is a really good big game player, but I think week to week, Katie Reid right now is showing what it takes to be a centre-back for Arsenal.
And there you go. And you're hearing it from the Arsenal fan. There's no agenda there. We're now going to move to Super Sub of the Week. Who are you putting in?
Popeye, of course.
Popeye?
Of course.
The finish, the winner, La Croqueta.
In a game that I think would usually go completely past most women's football fan watchers, right?
Not us.
Not us.
We catch everything.
I want everyone to see this goal.
Yeah,
it is actually incredibly important everyone sees this goal.
I think that's 100% a great call. My Super Sub of the Week is Luani. She's just... It's 3 games in a row. Yeah. You have to get your name on the sheet. Luani Vitoria da Silva Rosa. That is, you have got government named on Benchwarmers WOSO podcast. Just a ridiculous week for the Brazilian. Came on, did the business against Real Madrid, did it last week, midweek, and then now have done it this week to save them points as well. It's a performance and a half. And our come on the pod. Our ultimate benchwarmer. Yeah, we've chosen the same name. We couldn't fight it out. We had to share it. Rianne.
Yeah.
Rianne Skinner. Yeah.
It's a manager. It's a gaffer who has to come on.
Yeah,
the pod.
it's really sad. It's actually sad at this point. We want to hear what you have to say.
We want to hear why you've forgotten all of a sudden how to manage a football club.
Yeah, it's okay. If you want to come here on Christmas Day, you might be sacked by then.
Do your tell-all interview with us.
Yeah. Oh, that would be
Yeah.
mint.
Yeah.
I'd love that. Jesus. Who replaces her? That's a real question.
Good question.
God, there's a lot to cover. All our games and awards segments are done.
Yep.
We are now back with Leggy's NWSL watch.
Look, I feel like even subconsciously there's a sort of distraction conflict between the WNBA and the NWSL. Now, I know this is NWSL watch.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, again, the games weren't that great. So we're going to move out a little bit and we're going to look at the NWSL as more of the product. It's like what it is to the culture in the US, where it kind of sits in this like girl
The
boss.
zeitgeist.
Yeah, where it sits in the girl boss zeitgeist.
WOSO, not
Yeah.
WOSO.
And look, I really, really like what the WNBA is doing in terms of like attracting big names. I mean, they had Malala in the New York Liberty game.
Wait, like the Malala.
Yeah, like
Malala Yousafzai.
the Malala, right?
Wow, that's impressive.
On the other side of the country, Gameweek 20 started with Angel City and Washington.
Yeah.
And look, Paige
Yeah.
Beckers, the WNBA Rookie of the Year, she was actually in attendance.
Oh, cool.
And you might think, okay, so they've obviously won this
Yeah.
like distraction thing. Like, I mean, obviously they are the ones that have kind of gotten all the plaudits. They have the little WNBA player there. Look, whilst the WNBA are getting literal like social warriors, the NWSL are just showing us what we've known for the last 10 years, which is even if the football is shit, the gays will still turn up.
Yes, they will. and the gays will still make podcasts
And we'll still
about
make
them.
podcasts about it because, look...
Shout out Paige, by the way.
Yeah, well done,
Absolute
Paige.
baller as well. Yeah.
But, like, Angel City, Washington, I mean, it ended in a draw. Wow.
Classic.
Wow.
Shock.
But, no, it was actually quite a good game.
Yeah.
Trinity Rodman missed a penalty.
I
Then
did see that.
She scored the rebound.
Yeah. She was very happy about that rebound.
Yeah, I did. I called out a Thompson sister last
Yes,
week.
Giselle. Oh, what a ping! She holds the line so well. It makes no sense, and the commentary is actually mint
Yeah.
on that goal. To be fair,
Look, US commentary is interesting.
great 4 minutes of football right
Look,
there.
I'm really happy for these two girl boss FCs to just share the points. They're doing the feminist thing.
Yeah.
They're all sharing.
Socialist soccer, when you score, both teams get a point.
It's
great.
Look, the best game of the round definitely goes to Mormon FC facing off against Racing Louisville. A seemingly unimportant game between bottom half fodder ended up being a 5-goal thriller.
Ooh.
A battle of two halves. Utah took a 3-0 lead going into the half time with an insane opener from Mina Tanaka.
Oh, Tanaka's
Yeah,
but
just a baller.
She's just been doing it since day at
Yeah.
this point.
And then closing off a half with a goal from Arsenal cult hero, Conti Cup champion, Serial United dunker, and player with the best chant in club history,
Oh, Chloe.
Chloe Lacasse.
Chloe Lacasse.
Look,
Yeah.
after halftime, Racing realised that they were in fact supposed to be playing football and not giving their best impersonation of a mannequin and fired 2 goals in less than 15 minutes. This left me in a really strange predicament because, you know me, I hate draws.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted this to transpire. This late comeback by Racing Louisville. Look, Utah held on at the end, but this game really made me question a lot of things.
Oh, I think there's a lot to say about like. I mean, even the specific players, I think, like Lacasse being there,
Coming back from an ACL injury.
exactly. It's interesting the way in which like a lot of like at the time world class players see America as the ultimate route by not necessarily the end of their career, but like the later stages of their prime. I think there is an audience and an attendance there that just resonates with fans and obviously with gay fans.
Yeah,
But it was just like I mean you told me all about this 5-goal thriller, and I was like, she's like, you have to watch it. You have to watch it,
guys.
Mate,
No,
it's
but
American. It's American sport.
Yeah,
They always bring the precedent.
The 9 games since they last had a win, Orlando lose 1-0 to the Courage. And at this point, I'm not even surprised. Because either...
That's Marta. That's my girl.
No, either they are purposely trying to be shit so they can go into the playoffs, like, underrated. Like, we forgot that
But they'll make the playoffs, even 9 games unbeaten.
They'll make the playoffs because they just had an insane start to the season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So they're doing the classic drop-off.
I think, last season, Seb Hines' team, they had a drop-off midway through, but this is just poor form now. I mean... I think I think they're trying to make us forget that they're reigning champs, because Where
did they win from last? What position?
They were first, I believe.
They were first, so they first and held on to the title.
I believe they were first. They did the double.
Okay, so you think they can do it from deep?
No, because
Brilliant.
So I think we're all very quick to forget that prior to last year, Orlando were an incredibly inconsistent club. Like it was generally shit. Like their pool of good players early on, like the Alex Morgans, the Steph Catleys,
of course.
They all came because it was really nice weather and it was gay FC.
It is gay FC.
Ali Krieger, Ashlyn Harris.
The pride.
The pride. Yeah.
The pride girlies.
No, but I do think that we forget that. I mean, Orlando in and of itself are not necessarily an institute of the NWSL.
Yeah.
The last game was...
Who's this?
Look, it was the SD Wave in
Portland.
The blonde-haired...
Jonas.
The blonde-haired manager Twink Derby.
Oh, my Jesus.
Ended in a 1-1 draw. Jonas Heidelberg's team hadn't scored a goal in 5 games before this one.
Broke the drought.
And
well done, Jonas.
I would usually say something like really snarky at this point, but honestly, like SD Wave fans, I just feel your pain. I know what you're going through. It'll get better. You will win some like stupid cup, and then he'll leave.
It is beautiful. It is the Jonas way. Jonas method is pain, trophy, leave.
Yeah. And look, the big news coming out of this week was that the team that we all expected to win, the KC Current, they won the Shield because obviously there's no way for them to lose it from this point. And I think they got their first. Yeah, they are officially champions. Yeah. I think that this raises an important point about what we'll go on to next, which is the Ballon d'Or. None of their players were nominated. I understand that it's a bit of a weird situation. They started their season as the Ballon d'Or voting was coming to an end. Yeah. But
the Copa America doesn't count.
No, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of the North America, South America players didn't really get.
No.
I mentioned, I think it was only 2-3 players that were nominated.
I do think that it's important to mention that the NWSL is not going to be favoured when it comes to the Ballon.
It's not even just location-based, it's league-based as well, because you'll have successful players in Portugal who don't get nominated. You'll have successful players in France who aren't a part of PSG or Lyon who don't get nominated. People don't even recognise position-based Ballon d'Or. I think the WOSO Ballon, especially this year, I actually have little issue with the result. As someone who didn't necessarily think Aitana, who's sitting right behind me, I don't think she does. Obviously, we're recording this. She has just won her 3rd in a row. Congratulations to Aitana. Unbelievable. One of the best footballers I've ever seen live by a mile. I don't think she deserved it this year, but I also don't have issue with her winning it because it's not about... I don't believe the Ballon d'Or is the best player of the year award. It's a very different thing. I think just because you win things doesn't attribute yourself to be better than someone. It just means that your 11 beat their 11 on a given day. Yeah.
I think with the Ballon d'Or, I think one of the things that people are forgetting is that this is an award that never necessarily looked at the best player in the season from a perspective of truly watching how they have grown into the league, what they have done for the league. This is a Ballon d'Or that initially started in 2018, gave it to Ada Hegerberg rightfully, but then had a year where they gave it to Megan Rapinoe off of
7 games.
Yeah, 7 games in a World Cup.
Yeah.
They had Alexia, who they recognized her talent, and now Aitana their talent. Yeah. I think there's been a lot of questions as to who was the voting panel, how did the journalists vote. Yeah. I think people are forgetting that these journalists are voting from the perspective of what I believe to be who is the player who is the best and making the best strides in women's football. These journalists are always going to handicap women's football.
I feel like accolades have taken over the conversation. So every argument that I hear from people online is Mariona should have won it, and Dembele, it's the same way Dembele won it. Mariona should have won it because Mariona won the Champions League. She left, she was the difference. She won the Champions League, and then she was instrumental in Spain getting to the final and then scoring a goal in the final. I actually don't think that's true. I think she was okay for Spain in that Euros. I don't think she was amazing. But then you have people like saying Alessia Russo, they won the Euros, she won the Champions League, she won that. Just because you win doesn't entitle you to an individual award based on individual success. And then judging it off goal contributions also doesn't work when you're comparing central midfielders. I understand Aitana's goal contributions are ridiculous for a player in central midfield who progresses the ball. But yes, if we're making it a goal contributions argument, then we could easily be looking at two players who haven't got a shout at all from what I'm seeing online in Ewa Payor and Alexia Putellas, who would be my Ballon d'Or winner, because I don't really know. I mean, everyone who's arguing Aitana's point, validating the best player of the Euros when she was injured for half of it and did one good thing at the Euros, which was that semi-final goal. I don't think that's... Taglines don't win the conversation. What I do like about the Ballon d'Or, what it should be to me personally, is when people point and they go, that's the best player in the world. And basically, whether you like it or not, they've pointed at Aitana, and you can say she isn't the best player in the world this year. But if we're doing a World 11, we're getting the Martians, the aliens come down and say, we have to play a game of women's football. The first player on the team sheet is the person who should win the Ballon d'Or, according to me. And that person, for you, for me, and for most people I know, their first pick is Aitana. Yeah, is that fair?
I think it's fair. I do think that there's an argument to be said that if Mariona were voted on based on the category of how the men's are voted on, I think she
Mariona would have won it. Yes, I don't disagree.
Mariona would have won it if she was a man.
Yeah, it's crazy to say that, but the reality is that's how it was. It's meritocracy.
I still believe that, and as I said earlier, I still believe that the women's Ballon d'Or is taken into consideration who is the best player in the world, not who is the best player in that season.
The individual season and the body of work. I understand it's important. I get it, but for me, I will always look at the Ballon as an award that's not accolade based. The best player in the world is the best player in the world, and it's been Aitana arguably 3 years in a row, and I don't think it's that as bad as people are making it out to be, at least.
I just think that people also forget that the votes, right? Like, we're looking at probably a three-way tie here in terms of how close it is, and then we're looking at a fourth, fifth going down. No, I don't think they're anywhere close to the top three. I mean, Chloe Kelly, sure. I mean, it's like they kind of threw like these names and they saw which one landed closer to Aitana, and that's how they found out who was fourth, fifth, and below.
I still think it's insane that, like, I don't get me wrong, Chloe Kelly had a good second half of the year, but
no, it wasn't that good.
like okay, she was a part of successful teams, so this is where that merit comes in. So Chloe Kelly being high up on the list because she's won this and won that,
and she's a name,
and she's she's got she's been able to amass a following through what she does, and that's great. I'm like very impressed by what she's done in the last 6 months to turn her career around. But to put her anywhere above Claudia Pino, who was in 11th, not even in the top 10, after scoring 10 goals in about 7 games in the Champions League, most of which are off the bench, she was instrumental in getting them to the Champions League final. Ewa Payor scored about 500 billion goals, and she was nowhere near the top 5. A lot of it is internationally weighted, and I don't like that. And the best player in the world is just the best player in the world. I have no issue with Aitana winning it. I felt like she even felt a bit...
She did not want to be up there.
Yeah, it's a player who kind of is a serial winner, and she didn't look like it. And I think that's what rubs people the wrong way, is that she was up against a fellow Spanish player, a friend that she'd played with for so long, that she probably believes deserves it.
Yeah, and
as much, if not more than her.
And I think that this is the best part about the Ballon d'Or, though. In my opinion, we actually get to see and have these debates and show just how great the women's game is right now. It's so close. The best players are growing. We're having a growing pool of the best players that we can debate deserve the Ballon d'Or.
And people talking about Alessia Russo being robbed and stuff. I can tell you, as someone who's been watching Alessia now for about half a decade, that was not Alessia Russo's best year. Everyone's saying, oh, she's got no chance to ever win it if she can't do it this year. Just because she won the Euros and the Champions League, she scored 12 goals in the league. 12 goals. She's going to have 12 goals by about 7, 8 games this year, the way she's smacking goals in. That was not her best season, and this will show.
The form she's in now is the form that I think a lot of the like Ballon d'Or Russo
fans think she was in last year, and she wasn't. She wasn't, and Jonas put her on the left. Like
Jonas is the reason why she didn't get a Ballon d'Or.
You know what? Blame Jonas.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Russo not winning it? Blame
Jonas.
Blames the San Diego Wave coach. But yeah, is that all we have for the Ballon? Is there anyone else you want to shout out?
No, not really.
No, I don't want to shout out the 50 journos who picked it. Let me know how you got that job, because that's what we want to do.
At the end of the day, I think it's kind of weird if you go online and start yelling
about your...
Remember, it is like a ball-looking trophy.
Yeah, it's not the World Cup. It's not the World Cup. No. The World Cup is something to argue about, but this is an individual award recognizing individual brilliance, and I don't think it's that deep.
Instead of complaining, go and watch these players.
100%. Great shout. That wraps up our Ballon chat. We've got one more segment left.
Of course.
And it's the classic, the What Would Kang Do? We don't even have to explain what's going on now. I think we know what's going on. Basically, I put Michelle in a different place in time in the world. A few weeks ago, first one was Austria, second one was Egypt. Last week was the 2008 global financial crisis. And now we move to the south of the United Kingdom, Wales. All right. Wales. I know this is harder history, but I'm going to give you a little prelude.
I know a little bit about Wales. Okay. I've been to Wales.
Other than Jess Fishlock?
No.
Oh, you've been to Wales?
I've been to Wales.
Okay, sick. That's cool. Yeah. All right, this might help you. Known for many things, its natural beauty. Some of our favourite films, Sherlock, Harry Potter, Doctor Who. A land of song with strong, vibrant musical culture, dance, poetry. Their leeks, daffodils, red dragons. And from a football standpoint, Gary Speed, Gareth Bale, Jess Fishlock, all come to mind. Ranked 32nd in WOSO by FIFA rankings. They're sitting behind England in 4th, Scotland in 25th, and Ireland in 27th as the 4th best British country in WOSO. I know Ireland isn't really like...
Whoa, we're going a bit geopolitical.
No, but Ireland is like they're their own.
Sure,
like before I offend every Irish person I know, and I know quite a few, they're not the UK. But again, if we want to fast track Wales to take on that side of Europe's more superior football countries, what would Kang do as part of Wales?
Well, I feel like one of the more like striking things I know about Wales is their flag, right? It's like it's a red dragon. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously she'd have to replace that with a red lion.
Red lion, classic. Yeah.
Look, I do love Wales. I think it's really cool. Do you know that they have the most castles of any place per capita?
Crazy.
It's pretty crazy. And I think what Kang would do would she'd use those castles for good use.
Yeah. Stadiums,
crazy. Of course.
Castle stadiums.
Yep.
And Lions Den.
Yeah. I think she'd take some of the cooler parts of Wales. I love Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And I think she'd want to include some sort of like Doctor Who lore into her games. I think she'd want a TARDIS.
Oh, a TARDIS field.
I think that she'd want to conjure up some sort of, using the magic of Wales, conjure up some sort of like TARDIS to be able to travel across all of Wales and create some sort of like massive football ecosystem.
Nice. I mean, I have no issue with that because I feel like, if she could build a TARDIS, I feel like she could. But even like the stadiums themselves being like large castle structures with a small field inside, that would be very TARDIS-like. My answer to that, after Leggy's brilliant TARDIS-based Wales Kang fantasy, is basically that football in Wales has an amazing, immense history. It becomes popular during World War I, gains prominence post-war despite complaints from religious congregations. The FA implements a total ban, which is not super invasive. It's just kind of like a blanket wordy ban. But then the 1939 amended version decreed that no football match in which any lady or ladies take part in any way whatsoever shall be permitted to be played on any football ground within the jurisdiction of this association.
Not very Kang.
Yeah, crazy. Clubs, officials, players, referees are not permitted to associate themselves in any way whatsoever with ladies football matches. So 1939, and this ban goes for 40 years.
Jeez.
Yeah, so 1970, the 29th of May, 3 days before Kang's 11th birthday, the ban was lifted and the revival properly develops into the 90s. 1992 92, you have the FA Wales Women's Cup as their premier national cup competition. 2009, the local FAs run the bottom 2 tiers with a 4-tier system. You have the Welsh FA running the North and South Women's Welsh Football League. That's like the tier 2. And then the Welsh Prem Women's Football League being tier 1. You get the Premier League Cup, which is the League Cup in 2014, and then a full restructure in 2021. Wow. Not Kang, by the way. No. Kang doesn't do this. It's a company called Adran, so they do Adran Premier League. That becomes the top flight. The Premier League Cup becomes the Adran Trophy, right? So 11-year-old Kang, yeah,
entering girlhood.
Let's go back. Doesn't really know what her future holds for her. But a 47-year-old Kang who's just been elected the board director of Rexan Pharmaceuticals in 2006 does love a good business deal. So important to remember that she used to be a board member of Rexan Pharmaceuticals who did some very friendly, not environmentally dangerous or economically sus things.
But Rexan, it sounds like Wrexham.
Interesting you say that. So yeah, as a board member in Maryland, Baltimore at the time, she thought about diversifying Rexan's pharma spread to Europe, with healthcare being run through NHS Wales. This would involve working and collaborating with their government in building a new pharmaceutical distribution centre near the northeast border of Wales near England. Leggy, you caught it already. Yep. It's not Swansea. It's not Cardiff. It's Rexan. Welcome to Rexan. The pharmaceutical company meets the pitch as Michelle Kang finds a mutual interest and sponsorship deal with Rexan and Wrexham. But there's more. She found capacity to cut through football too and work with the Welsh FA to keep her mass investment on good terms. Because obviously they have FFP there. So you can't just overspend. But what does Rexan do? That's the question. Rexan Pharmaceuticals specialize in ophthalmic biopharmaceuticals. Basically, that means that they sell biologically derived drugs that treat eye diseases and conditions like age-related macular degeneration, diabetic eye disease, glaucoma, blah, blah, blah. But in my revisionist history, she uses her super eye drugs on the players so that they'll be performance enhanced, but also WADA approved. But then she does the thing she's best at, which is called immense soft power diplomacy and financial initiatives to lure the people in charge to make sure she can do whatever she wants. So she makes a partnership between Rexan's drugs and pharmaceuticals with the Welsh FA so that the referee's eyes and vision are genuine perfection. They don't miss a single call. Yeah. So the Welsh FA gets a Rexan-sponsored referee academy where they can legally dope with supervision to harbour the greatest referee hub that the world has ever seen. The name of the academy is RefWAM, the Women's Referee of Wales Higher Academy Management. And fan well-being in the Welsh League and attitude towards referees is at an all-time high because everyone loves the referees. They get nothing wrong. They get used all around the world for international tournaments because Wales never make them other than the Euros recently. But obviously Fishlock will retire at some point and then they won't make it for a while. So then the WAM will be the ultimate export of the Wales FA. And then in February 2021, as we all know, Ryan Reynolds bought Wrexham. Kang stays involved as a board member at Wrexham, and after their partnership to assist the club ownership, he's later renamed Lion Reynolds. He is the Lion Reynolds, and I think ultimately being able to take on the league, the club, and the association through referee management shows how Michelle Kang finds a way to make Welsh football a movement, not a moment. Yeah, and that will happen every week. That's the goal of this segment. What Would Kang Do is that we're going to explain the movements, not the moments.
Look, I know you have time to prepare these, but they are just far superior to my answers. I mean, I'm talking about castles and TARDISes.
Yeah, but it's different because you'd have to bring in again, it's the smaller elements of Welsh football being subsumed by Kang, which is very TARDIS-like. I think that's everything we have for
Yeah.
today. That was a very, very long pod, but we had a lot of fun doing it. Please follow us on all our socials.
Subscribe.
Like, subscribe. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, and YouTube. And there's weekly content. Every single week. Every week.
Every week.
Yeah, and have a great week, and
We'll catch you in the next one.
catch you in the next one.
Yeah.
Easy.